Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this video. This video is going to be similar to the first one, but it's going to include a little bit more content. So in our first video, we made a simple horizontal navbar. Now this one, as I mentioned, it's going to be adding or including a little bit much more content than the first one. Still a bit challenging, like the first go around where you make it, but it's I feel like it's a navbar that looks interesting, and it's something different as well. So the reason why I wanted to make this video is to give you guys also another idea of how to make a nav bar that's different from the first regular nav bar that we made here. So how I came up with this was I decided to make a clone page. And the clone page that I decided to make was Zillow's page, as you can see here. I first looked at it, I knew it was gonna be challenging from the start. It was gonna be a problem. Um, but after a lot of trial and error, I feel like I was able to finally grasp on how to make it, and I just want to give you guys another idea, as I mentioned before, on a different style of navbar here. So as we can see, we have Zillow's page pulled up here, and Zillow's page consists of a horizontal navbar, but this time the navbar has content to the left side, or like different sections. So it has content or links to the left side, a logo right smack down in the middle, and then a more content to the right side here, or more links. So it looks definitely much more different than our regular simple nav bar. So let's get right to it. I had a lot of trial and errors making this one, and and it's such a great feeling of finally being able to like make it without much problems now. So yeah, once again, let's get right into it. So what we're gonna do first is we want to make sure we have our HTML and our CSS linked. Remember, if you don't have it linked, it's gonna cause a lot of headaches in the future. So we just want to make sure that we have it linked. And then second here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our nav. So let me just erase this and just start from zero. We're gonna make our nav elements here. That way we can have a section in our web page where we can store any other links there. So what we're gonna do first is we just want to break it down here. So if we remember from our first video, a navbar consisted of links, but this time it's kind of sectioned off into three. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have one side ULs or LIs, and then the other side with more ULs and LIs. So as we can see here, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links to the left, and then 4 links to the right side. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's get to it. So we made our nav element here, and then we're just gonna use UL, unordered list, and then we are going to make our LIs. So it has 5 LIs, so we are going to want to make 5 LIs. And of course, let me just click all of these. And once again, if you want to click all of these, it's in Windows, it's you click first and then you press Alt, and then you just click anywhere, and you're able to type in at the same time. It's pretty fast and pretty awesome also. So what we're going to do is we're going to just click enter there, and then we're going to enter our anchor tags here. So we have our anchor tags, and then we're just going to click enter over here. That way we know where we are typing it. So once we have our first here, we can move on to the next, which is our logo. So after the last UL here, the closing UL, we can make a div. And in this one, we're just going to call it logo, because that's where we can use that as like a place filler or placeholder. So we're going to have logo there. And then that's pretty much it for that. And then afterwards, what we're going to do is we are going to make our second UL. And similar to the first one, UL, LI, but this time instead of 5, we're making 4. So we're going to make 4 ULs. And then the same thing as the top. So we're going to do, we're going to click Alt in Windows, and then click all of them, enter, anchor tag, just to make everything a little bit much more readable. And then we're just going to lastly just separate everything. Perfect. Awesome. So what we have now here is as you can see, we have our bullet points. So this is going to be the left side, the middle, and then the right side of our nav bar. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to start adding text into this. So if we want to refer back to our Zillow page, we have buy, rent, sell, home loans, and agent finder on the left side. And then we have manage rentals, advertise, help, and sign in to the right side of the navbar. So let's just go ahead and input those words there, those texts. So we're gonna put buy, buys. We're gonna put buy. We're gonna do rent. We're gonna do sell. Fourth one is gonna be home loans. And then the last one for our left side is gonna be agent finder. Okay, perfect. So we have, as you can see, buy, rent, sell, home loans, and agent finder. And then we have our logo. Since our logo is already done, we don't really have to think about it at the moment here. So we can just move on to the right side of the navbar. So we're going to continue to the right side here, and we're going to add the rest of the text or the link wording. So we're going to do manage rentals, and then it has advertise, help, and lastly we have sign in. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see, we have all of them here. So once again, we have our left, middle, and right side of the nav bars. And then once again here, we created it by using a nav. And then in the nav, we have our left side. So we created our left side first. We're gonna have our UL. Inside of the UL, we're gonna have an LI, and we're gonna make 5 because it has 5 links there inside of the anchor tags. And then we have our logo, which we're using a div. And then after that, we're using the same thing similar to the first, but we're using UL and 4 LIs. And then anchor tags. So lastly, what we want to do is we want to make sure we have our classes named in our HTML, just to make everything a little easier when we're styling it in CSS. So what we're going to do is we're going to do nav here, as we're taking it as like the nav as a whole. So we're going to call it class, and then we're going to call it whole nav here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to choose the UL for the left side, remember, for the left side. And then this is where when we're going to target it or separate it from the rest of the ULs. We're going to be a little bit more specific. So we're going to call it class, and then we're going to call this left nav. Left nav here. So we have the whole nav, and then we have a left nav. So we just scroll a little to the bottom, and then on the div we're going to create a class, and it's logo for the logo, of course. And then lastly, for the second UL or the UL on the right side, is going to be class, and it's going to be a right nav. So once again, we have our whole nav. We have the UL, but this is going to be a left nav, which is this here. We're going to have the middle, which is this, which is the logo. And then we're going to have the right nav as a UL, which is the right side here. So this is pretty much it that we need for the HTML, and let's get started on the CSS. And if you saw the first video, I mentioned that I like to write. It's just a habit now of like writing things that I know that I'm going to need for CSS. Even if I'm not going to need it, I know just to write it down. That way I don't get anything confused also. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do asterisk, curly brackets, and we're just going to curly braces, sorry, and then we're going to just make default settings here. So as you can see, it's going to move everything up, and then padding 0, and then we're going to have box sizing, and then we're going to choose border box. And the reason why we want to have border box, we're not really going to use it now, but just for future reference, it helps out when already having a set like width and height, and that way you don't have any problems of using a margin or a padding being added onto the limits or like the limits of the height and the and the width there. Everything stays confined within both of those. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to do the body, just in case you want to change like the background color of the whole body there, or add like a font size or font text there for the whole page. And then we're going to use the whole nav. So instead of using nav, we are going to use whole nav. And just remember, class is equal to the dot, and then ID is equal to a pound sign. So just write it down. Class is equal to dot, and then ID is equal to the pound sign here. So we are going to use the class here. So we're going to do dot, and then we're just going to put whole nav. Whole nav. And then we're just going to move on to the next one. Then we have left nav, so we're going to do dot left nav. That's done. So we're going to move to the next one. We're going to have the logo here. So dot logo. And then lastly, we're going to have the right side. So we're going to have dot right nav. And then that. And then just to finish off with what we're going to be using, we're going to use the LIs and the anchor tags. So I know from the last video as well, I mentioned, just to target it, but this time, just for this video, we're not going to target it, especially since we're dealing with 2 ULs and 2 LIs and 2 sets of anchor tags like on each side. So everything, we're just going to use one for the whole thing there. So we're just going to use LI, and we're going to do anchor. Perfect. Awesome. So the first thing that we're going to do is, if you can see, once again, I'm just going to bring back Zillow's page. Zillow's page is horizontal. So that's what we want to do. We want to make this horizontal. And the way to do that is we go to the whole nav. So we're taking the whole nav, since it is the parent, and we're going to do flex. We're going to do display, and then we're going to do flex, and you're going to see it move up there. So once again, let me just comment this out here. This is nothing, and then once we add it, it's going to move it up horizontally, and that's what we want. So now that we have it horizontally, still doesn't look good just because everything is kind of like vertically but horizontally, if that makes sense. So in order to fix that, what we're going to do now is we're going to pretty much use a display flex on the rest of these. So as you can see, we're going to use display once again, and then flex, and then as you can see, it pushes it up, and then horizontally pushes it there from vertically. And then you don't really need it for the logo as well, because the logo, it's like one word also. So, and it's already like, there's nothing else, so it won't really matter, as you can see. So you can either have it or leave it out. So we'll just leave it there just to be consistent. And then we're going to have display flex again for the right side. And as you can see, it's coming out so far somewhat great. So as you can see, we finally have it horizontal, just how Zillow has their navbar horizontal. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to be able to kind of center it. So by doing that, we are going to go back to the whole nav, and we're going to go justify content, and then we are going to choose. Now this one, it's to each their own, but you can use space around. Now as you can see, space around gives it the space once again, but it still doesn't, I don't know, still it might not look good now, but at the end, like once we have everything a little bit much more separated, it will. So let's just take this out first, actually, and then we'll come back to this here. So we want to justify content, sorry, and then let's say, because we know we can't use center just because like this, it's not the same how it is on the Zillow site. So what we want to do is we just want to use space. That way it can leave some space there. So let's say space around for now. And then we can always just remember, when you're dealing with CSS, it's not then and there. You can always have it changed afterwards, which is great. Especially if you see something open up that you didn't see at that moment. So we'll just leave it as space around. So the next thing that we're gonna do is, as you can see, it still doesn't look good. So let's just take away these bullet points and these underlines. And just remember, in order to take out the bullet points, since it is a list, the list is what's giving these like words or everything else these bullet points. So I'm going to do list style under li, and then we're going to do none. So as you can see, it takes it away. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to take out these underlines from the links. So we're going to do text decoration, and then we are going to do none. So as you can see, it's coming out better, much more better. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to add the spacing in between each link there, because it just doesn't look good here. And everything's like way scrunched up together. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the left side. So dot left nav, go back to it, and then we're going to add the gap. And let's say you just play around with it, see what you feel is it's similar. So let's do 15 pixels first. So as you can see, it changes, it adds more spacing. Doesn't look too good there. Still looks a little too sponged up. Yeah, I think that's looking better. 35. Okay, yeah, we can use 35. 35 I think looks good there. And then we can do the same thing to the right side here. So we're gonna add a gap of 35 pixels, and as you can see, it's looks much better. And then we just crease it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And let's just take a look at it. Yeah, it's coming out pretty good so far. Awesome. So the next thing that we want to do here is we just want to increase the size of the logo. As you can see, just comparing and bringing it back again, the logo it's bigger than the text in the links. So let's just go to logo here, and then we are going to make it, let's say 30 pixels. Okay, I think 30, let's say make it 35 actually. 35. Okay, perfect. I think 35 is good. So once we have that there, as you can see, it's still not good. Like there's still not enough space, but there is space here. So one thing that we can do is we can just bring this back down, because as you can see, we'll just comment this out once again. Everything is pretty much like aligned, but once we add the font size and we increase the font size of the logo, as you can see, it still stays there, and it's not linear just as on the Zillow page. So what we can do, we want to bring this down, these two down. So what we can do is we can go back to the left and right navs, and then we are going to do align items, and then that way we can just center it. And as you can see, it pushes it down there. And let me just do it once again here. You see it's there. We add the align items, and it brings it down right to the middle. So everything's pretty much evenly in the middle. And then we're going to do the same thing for right nav, and then we're going to do align items and center. So perfect. So there we have it there. And then we just want to add a bottom border, because that's something that we forgot to add here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the whole nav, and we're just going to add a border bottom, 1 pixel solid and black, let's say. And as you can see, it gave us the bottom border there. So the next thing that we're going to do, so it's coming out a little better, much more better, I say. And just a few more things just to finish this nav bar off is just adding the padding. As you can see, it's a lot more padding here and here. So let's go ahead and do that, and we're just going to add the padding in the whole nav. So if we want, we can do padding, and let's make it 24 pixels. I've noticed that like I use 24 pixels a lot for nav bars. I find it to be a little bit on the good side, like equal length or just for the eyes there. But yeah, so if you want, we can check out 20. Let's leave it at 20 for a different for some change here. So yeah, so there you have it. We pretty much have our logo looking similar to Zillow's here. As you can see, we have a left nav, we have a left nav, and then we have a right nav, we have right nav, and then we have a logo straight smack in the middle. And then let's just style it up just a little bit just to end the video here. And then we'll just do whole nav, and then we'll just do background color, and let's make it not this aquamarine. Let's make it a blue. I saw this blue the other day, which is pretty cool. I don't remember what it was. It was more not. It was like a baby blue kind of. Okay. All right, we'll just leave it at this here. Yeah, we'll just leave it there, and then let's just change the color of these of the links here. So we're gonna do color. Let's put it white. That way it matches the page here. And lastly, the logo as well. Color white. Perfect. And then once again, as you can see here, now it should be looking similar. Just we don't have the same font family and font sizes. But yeah, so that's pretty much on how to make a different kind of nav bar similar to Zillow. So that way it can give you guys another idea to add to your portfolios or your web designs or your web pages. So thank you so much for tuning into the video. Please leave a comment below. Please like the video if it was helpful, and hopefully, you guys are, if you're having some trouble making nav bars, hopefully with the first and the second video, it's a little bit much more helpful in doing it kind of like step by step on how to make a nav bar and a different style of nav bar, as you can see here. So thank you so much, and have a great one, guys. Thank you.